Hi everyone. So a few weeks ago, I released this short film called Into the MonkeyVerse, and I just wanted to show off because I thought some people might be interested. The kind of behind the scenes process of it. I have the file pulled up here, and I'm going to kind of just walk through the film and show you in depth how I made it. And this is the original file, and here's something else I should show you. Before we even get into that stuff, here, this is the MonkeyVerse file I made for all of the files having to do with this project, and there's about 80 files in here, and I'm just going to kind of break down how everything works. So opening here, this is just a GIF of Bubble Monkey doing his little bubble trick, and of course down here in the audio, oh, you know what? I guess it's missing. In the audio, I cut together the sound effect of Donkey Kong saying "okay" and a toy saying "deska," so it could make the full "okay deska," which is what he says when you enter in a command at the beginning when you're setting up Earthbound or Mother 3 for that matter. And I decided that I wanted to put that in just because this is very much something inspired by a toy, if you can't tell. And then also that to get Donkey Kong into believe it or not, reinforce the idea of monkeys in this. Okay, so going to the first shot of the movie, there are these black bars at the top and bottom. This is actually an adjustment layer up here. An adjustment layer is a layer you can create where simply you just put it on top and you just add effects to it, and whatever this is covering, it will be applied to everything beneath it. So if I were to just get rid of this, if I were to just cut this adjustment layer, the movie would be the same, but then you don't have the black bars, and I like having them there. It's called a cinemascope. I like having it because I just feel like it gives it a much more cinematic feel. So the shot of Bubble Monkey walking is a GIF I had to make myself of Bubble Monkey's walk cycle because one does not currently exist. I just kept looping it, and with each of these individual files here is the Bubble Monkey file repeatedly. But I used this motion here, this effect which allows you to use keyframes to animate something, and I just used keyframes to animate it moving slowly over as the walk cycle progressed. Then I added the walking sound effects, which I just downloaded off the internet, but I cut them so that they would sound quicker just because I thought it was more in line with how Bubble Monkey moved and what I inferred and how I felt he probably moved. So we get to this part, and there's just a static image of Bubble Monkey here. Now here's the first kind of complex shot. This is where he hears the Portal sound effect go off, which is directly ripped from Portal, which most of you probably know already. And you have this shot where it zooms out to reveal this portal. Now, this portal, for one thing, this portal is actually its completely own video file that is inserted into it. Every time you see a portal in this with another world on the other side, it's actually its own video in a magenta screen. I neglected using green screen because it would often, for the most part, conflict with the colors within the portal itself. And when I tried to green screen it, it would take out the greens in there as well, such as on these leaves here. So I had to end up going with magenta one because it would give it a high enough contrast to where it wouldn't mess with that. So this is a video file, and I once again used keyframes to do the zoom out, which was a little bit difficult because I had to do a bit of math to figure out how to keep Bubble Monkey's size consistent as this portal came in, as well as on the zoom making sure that the portal's size stayed in as well. I animated Portal Monkey himself jumping through in the magenta screen file, but because of the magenta screen, it actually screwed up the color of his skin here. So he's brown in this shot when Bubble Monkey has pinker skin because I screwed up. And I didn't notice until really late in, and I had been working on this for several hours and didn't want to redo it, so I called it good enough. But later in the short film, you'll actually see his skin actually gets fixed, and it's just a continuity error straight up. So Portal Monkey, as I call him, being here and shooting out the portals, let's see here. So you can't see it here, but in the final short film, Portal Monkey shoots a bunch of portals, and that is just simply one static image. That is right here, Portal Ball, as I so beautifully titled it. It's one static image that I keyframe to shoot out. There's simply no transition on it. I just have it appear, but it appears so quick and moves away so quick that you don't really process that it even just spawned out of nowhere. To this next shot, this is simply just a static picture of Bubble Monkey that is being zoomed in, and as you can see, as the file changes here, this is your cut between this one and this one, but it gives the illusion of him turning, and it's simply zooming in by making... It's actually an optical illusion, because the camera is not zooming in on Bubble Monkey. Bubble Monkey is getting bigger. I animated it so that he's simply growing, but because he's the only thing in frame and it's getting closer, it gives this illusion that it's zooming in on him. Next up, this shot, which is one of the most, oh my goodness. Any shot where you see multiple portals has a lot of work that went into it, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So here I actually did something just to play around a little bit because I thought it was funny. Bubble Monkey is, at the beginning of the shot, out of focus here. You can see he's a bit fuzzy along with the portals in the background. Then further into the shot, he goes way out of focus here, and then comes into focus as they're out of focus, and then it shifts back to them in focus and Bubble Monkey out of focus. This is something that in filmmaking is called rack focus, when you have focus switch during the shot, and I just thought it would be funny to add this little detail in because it sort of satirized things like Pixar, which if you've seen the Nerdwriter video, there's a great video Nerdwriter did discussing how they use real lenses, and it creates things that don't exist in animation, and I just thought that was a really funny idea, and it's stuck with me ever since I've seen that video several years ago, and I wanted to throw something in like that in this just to give it a little bit of polish. And these are actually not video files aside from the portals themselves. The portals themselves are, but these are just static images within them. They're not videos within videos, as well as not having anything animated to come out of them. They're simply animated just to be static in this shot. So mostly, as you can see down here, the work comes in with just the layering of them. So here's another thing where I play with focus in this next shot, where Mega Monkey, as I refer to him, is out of focus as you have Cloud Monkey come in, and then it shifts very quickly to him as he shifts out of focus. This is done by adding, all these focus shifts are done by adding Gaussian blurs. It's simply an effect that comes standard with most Adobe products that just blurs things. So I'm simply blurring the other objects and having keyframes there to cue when things become more blurry and less blurry, and I simply have them switch at the same time as if the focus is shifting from one thing to the other. As I was showing all the monkeys coming in, I wanted them doing different things because since I already had him jumping out and the focus switching, I didn't simply want to repeat that, so it took a little bit of thought. So I decided to keep Mario Monkey out of this one and Snake Monkey be already in it and just coming out of a box. I thought it was a cute little thing. I was a bit stumped on what to do for this shot for a while, and it just took me a little bit, so I just settled on this, and I think it turned out all right. I should also note that all of these monkeys, variations of MonkeyNess and Bubble Monkey, were made just simply by using a Photoshop file of the same version of the monkey and editing it, and then once I saved that version of it, reverting it back to its original state so that they could all have a consistent size. This was the most difficult shot to do in the entire production. Down here you can actually see on the timeline it's simply called longshot.mp4. This is a completely different video file like the magenta screen files. This is the long shot file where you can see it is actually just the entire shot in one frame. This is roughly 15 different video layers layered on top of each other. And then in the final shot, I just have it zoomed in a little bit and panning across by keyframing it so that the camera moves. I also just thought it would be funny to have Minecraft Monkey be a Minecraft character. I don't know much. But these types of bigger scale shots of different worlds and portals and monkeys all in one shot were created using essentially a file like this. But essentially I found the dimensions of this portal that I found online, which by the way was one of the hardest processes because I couldn't quite find the right portal I wanted, and this one has all these bits on the end, but essentially they are so far away that you can't even really tell, and they just kind of look like particle-y, which I think kind of goes with its weird science fiction sort of look to begin with. Anyways, I found the dimensions of those and made a bunch of green screen files in Photoshop in one large canvas. And then I saved that so that I can green screen these out and then simply put this big portal, which I would then blue screen out the middle of this and put it around this like a border rather than having to do anything else. Because if I were to green screen this out or blue screen this out, it would simply show the white of the canvas. So I had to have a green screen behind that as well. So we were working with 2 layers of green screens in any given shot with a portal in it, essentially. But yeah, this long shot's one of my favorites just because a lot of work went into it. And there's even one that you probably saw in the long shot file. This is one you don't even see for more than half a second maybe. And this is the Kirby World, as you can see from the enemies and such. And there is actually no Kirby monkey. I just simply wanted to throw in another one to make the shot feel that much bigger than before. So you see this on the very edge of the screen briefly. Yeah, there it is. You see it right on the edge here. And no Kirby monkey jumps out. No Kirby monkey was ever created. Because frankly, I didn't know what that would look like. The idea of just making a monkey completely pink felt kind of weird because I felt like it kind of looked gross and body horror-ish because it would just look fleshy since the skin color is pink to begin with. By the way, this entire white background is simply just a white JPEG or a white PNG placed behind, and it can be taken off of any given amount of shots or whatever. And the reason I went with white for the background, because without spoiling it, Mother 3 ends on a white screen. The last thing you see before the game is over is a white screen. So what I decided was, since it ends on a white screen and then the inevitable question became what's next for this channel, I decided to resume it right from that point on the white screen. So this is technically taking place post Mother 3, but not canonically. It's very fanfiction-y. The MonkeyVerse team shot, as I've dubbed it, is also its own separate video file. This was done more so for convenience purposes, just so there wouldn't have to be so many layers working in here. Because with this single shot of only 2 of them and these portals, you can see there's already like 6 or 7 layers. So I just decided to put this in its own thing, and it's simply just the pictures there, but they have a pretty powerful pose going on. And I keyframe to slide in the other monkeys who walk into the shot. If there's one thing I could have changed about this, I wish I would have given them walking animations. It was just, it felt like too much work because I would also have to adjust for other things, but I also find it much funnier that this one just slides in. And I also added a keyframe zoom in as well, just to add a little bit of drama to it. And then I actually have a freeze frame here, which is just a screenshot of this, just so I could hold the shot a little bit longer. So this shot of Bumble Monkey doing his big jump towards the end is actually not really all of that different from what I was doing before. By having a keyframe into him getting bigger, I simply keyframed him moving upwards, changing his Y position. And my rule is that generally 4 frames of it is enough to get a really good quick motion. And I decided to just leave a little bit of white here. I held on the shot for just a little bit longer just so that the viewer could process that he even moved. And here is simply more keyframing, but playing with the rotation. I played with the rotation a little bit to get this sort of arc sort of motion going. And then once he reached the peak of the jump, simply turned up the rotation to go much higher, much quicker, so that it would be a much quicker spin. I added a bunch of whooshing sounds here, also just for dramatic purposes, because I thought it sounded cool. And in the following shot of the monkey team, which by the way, this is just a Photoshop file of them all layered on top of each other. Since Bubble Monkey has already moved, and as we saw in the previous shot, was moving very quickly, I decided to cut down his dropping animation to 2 frames here. So that way it feels even quicker than his takeoff, which it should since he's coming down now. On his land, I added the sound effect of him landing there. That sound effect comes from Dragon Ball Z. It's just a sound effect I've always liked. So most of the shot is actually just Bubble Monkey landing, and then the rest of the shot, like before, is a freeze frame. I also didn't go over before when they approach him. They do their join us on our quest for the big banana, which I just thought was funny because I simply needed a reason of why the hell are all these monkeys from different universes teaming up, and it's to acquire the big banana. So in the next shot, I removed Bubble Monkey from the shot and then re-added him in, but put a Gaussian blur on the background graphic so that it would give the illusion that he's in focus while they're slightly out of focus. And you get also that drama of the more three-dimensional space because of the way it's zooming in. And as it zooms in closer on him and gets more in focus, they come more out of focus, but I was careful not to blur them too much or else the effect would have stopped working. I gave Bubble Monkey a drop shadow as well, simply to differentiate him from the background a bit, especially since there's a bunch of darker colors on the borders as well as on the other monkeys. And Bubble Monkey's final big line at the end is "Let's kick ass and chew bubble gum." A lot of people thought it was a reference to Duke Nukem that I showed it to, but it's actually a reference to the 1980s John Carpenter film They Live, where the main character says the same line, and I thought it worked as a double entendre since Bubble Monkey chews bubble gum. And I decided to go with this font for the ending title just because it kind of reminded me of Evangelion and just the super over-the-top science fiction weird fantasy nature of this. I thought Evangelion was the perfect thing to reference at the end. Another thing I wish I could have given a little bit more time is that when Portal Monkey says his line here, I wish I could have given a little more time. I feel like it goes by a little too quickly, but I had to keep it in time with everything else. Which, by the way, the welcome music from Mother 3, as I mentioned before, it meaning to take place right after that series ends, not the game, but my series. And I also found that it's a nice loop because Mother 3 is all about kind of the death and rebirth of a world, that you have Welcome, which plays at the beginning, playing now right after the ending again. I initially didn't know what music I wanted, and I tried that one, and I found it actually just synced up perfectly, virtually perfectly with how I had things already laid out. So I was like, this has got to be it. It's meant to be. I was initially using the original version from the video game, but I found that I wanted a more orchestral sound, so I went to Aqua Midi's channel, who also did the compositions that I used for the introductions in my Mother 3 series, and used their version of their reorchestration of Welcome, and I think it's wonderful. So as we get to the credits, you have that these are green screens. All of these transitions are green screens of PSI moves from Mother 3, actually, and I think they, timing-wise and everything, just work very well, look cool, stylish, and loved it. The MonkeyVerse audio, strangely enough, I actually put into its own file, because initially I actually exported the whole thing as a silent film and then added in all of my sound effects here. As you can see, here's the looping of his footsteps. And actually over this file, when the portal opens, I put a humming sound effect, a little ambient noise, just to give the world a little bit more dimension, because it felt wrong looking at this and there was no sound as he's just standing there looking at it. Here you can actually see the portal ball file. I guess I put it in this audio file for some reason because I'm insane. As well as the subtitles. This is where these ended up going. But yeah, as I mentioned before, this is the point where you can actually see Portal Monkey's skin actually gets corrected in color. Anyways, that is the making of Into the MonkeyVerse. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a bit self-indulgent to go into all the details of these things for a video that's a minute and a half, but I thought some people might be interested. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and be sure to check out the original short film if you haven't. I'll link it in the description at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.